What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of EraBody's podcast, where generations collide and cultures combine. Today, we got a great show for you. As guest for today, we have Kelsey Foster. She's a candidate running for District C council member here in New Orleans, and she want to let you know what her plans and aspirations is to make New Orleans a greater place. So you don't want to miss this. I'm your boy, Ricky.
And I'm the Honorable Darren D. Purnell, the street speaking himself. What's up, Rick?
Man, what's going on, D?
Man, this New Orleans, man. News is newsing, y'all. The report came out yesterday. Now, when it happened, this kid, let me make sure, Kyrie Lacey, is all over the news now. His lawyer from day one saying the facts don't add up to him, And when a tape came out yesterday, this kid was even nowhere around the accident. Mm-hmm. He was at least 100 yards away from it. The videotape shows the cops saying, make sure you put in a report. He's telling the witness that make sure. We do know what make sure means.
Yeah, he coerced him.
Yeah, so to put that in there to say that the green Charger was involved, and all the while this young kid was not involved with it at all. So that's the topic we're running. I know that's it happened in Baton Rouge, but what bothers me, Rick, sidebar when you're having conversations with police officers, mm-hmm. This is why we think all police officers are dirty and no good, even though we know they got some good ones, because it's a double standard. If I was a big-time drug dealer, Rick, and I'm high up, and you was somebody connected with the team, and they charge us with a RICO, I can say, I don't even know Ricky. Mm-hmm. They're going to say, no, y'all was together. Y'all was together. So, but when you catch dirty cops doing this, sidebar, so-called good cops will tell you that's bad police work, mm-hmm. off the record. On the record, nobody says nothing.
Yeah, of course.
Nobody says nothing. You see what happened. Sidebar, if you talk to any police officer right now, they're going to say, oh, man, that was down bad. Oh, that's just not good police work. Why you not saying it on record?
Right.
So just like you can loop that small-time offender with a so-called drug dealer and say all y'all together on a RICO case, we can loop all y'all together and say that's why everybody think that all police officers no good.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the most hurting aspect of that whole thing was that the person that he was coercing was another black person. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if it was out of fear that
it probably was fear.
It had to be fear. We fearful of our life. No telling what he said off camera to the black man to get him to do and say that.
Right.
However, a life has been, taken. Like, this dude felt so much guilt that he took his own life.
Right. And they'll try to defend that.
Yeah.
You gonna have a prosecutor, instead of looking at it and say, man, it's a F up. They'll try to defend this and to clean it up and make it look better than what it is. Nah, this bad police work at its best. This is what we worry about. Yeah. And when black people are complaining about this type of policing, oftentimes our white, sometimes Hispanic brothers and sisters don't understand it from our perspective. This is what we talk about right here. Yeah. And this is the crazy part about it. They didn't have to do this. Yeah. The accident was occurred before he even got there. Yeah, you could have wrote up a simple police report, and now it's turned into nationwide news or whatever.
Yeah, but I think too, didn't somebody die? They call it negligent homicide.
Yeah,
so a 78-year-old individual died. So he was just trying to get the case closed, but not persecute or get his own people pretty much involved in it. So he'd rather go for the black person on the scene. And this man's car wasn't even wrecked. It's the crazy part.
Yeah. So man, I don't know, man.
It's the crazy
part. And you would think that things like this would be over, but nah, this is everything that you can see. We can literally pick stories every day. Mm-hmm. We can come in every episode and pick stories like this. Man, police officers, you got to do a better job, all right? Just like you would tell the police officer, get a better, the drug dealer, get a better profession if you want to be looked at better. You guys wear the badge. You guys are paid, and you guys have to do a better job.
Not only do a better job, they need to be held accountable.
accountable. And
Like for real, like
pensions need to be grabbed.
I mean, they need to go after LSP organization.
But you know what they do? They'll do this. Force a retirement, still get their pension.
Yeah.
And if things like that start getting pulled,
yeah,
we get police
they under that oath. You know what I'm saying? They have a promise to be law-abiding citizens and protect the citizens, right?
Yeah.
So whatever oath they sign, they in for life.
Right.
You know, but it is time to abolish that whole system.
Yeah, I do think we need policing. I do think that, but I think that character-wise, we need to start addressing this. And just like anything else, if you don't call it out, you must agree with it because you ain't called it out.
Yeah.
And many times I run into police officers sidebar, off the record, and they would just like doctors. That's another one. Mm-hmm. Always sidebar saying something was wrong and this was wrong. Why don't you go on the record if you're that confident about it?
Well, like I say, the only way is if they legally have the recordings. So if somebody say off the record, it can't be used against them in a court of law.
And they always want to be off the record. They never want to be on the record.
Always.
So, and especially criticizing what they criticize guys from being a blood in a crip. But that blue wall they behind, that's a gang.
It is.
A big gang.
The biggest gang.
Yeah. So, we got to get better, y'all.
Yeah, and prayers out to the Lacey family.
And the guy that got killed.
Yeah, and the guy that got killed also.
Yeah. Also, we got some good news, man.
What's the news?
We are not surprised by this. We've been inventors. This Atlanta inventor, he called it plastiline.
Yeah.
Gelling. Yeah. He taking plastic, literally trash. You know they got plastic everywhere. And he actually yesterday put it inside of a charger. This is my second time watching, and I donated $200 to when I first heard about him to his thing. And he got the car to start up.
So everything, what color he is?
Oh, he a black guy.
Let's go. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about, boy. We can turn plastic into gasoline.
Plastiline, and he got the cars running. Can he get it to mass production? That's the question.
Of course. All the plastic they have, all the waste they trying to clean up.
So
of course
if he can get this, what you think it would do to the
atmosphere?
No. The gasoline industry, like
they done.
They done.
They done. I mean, there's still gonna be certain people who wanna still deal with gasoline only because it's a black inventor. Yeah. You see how this stuff go.
But I will say I don't have the name of this guy. They had a black inventor, and that's why my prayers is for the jail and his whole family. They have a black inventor that was out of New York, and he actually was on social media live that he proved that his invention with water can run a car. Mm-hmm. And 2 weeks later, a shooting just so happened. He was an innocent bystander at a grocery store, and I say it was a hit, but
he was targeted.
Yeah, and he's not here no more, and we not talking about water and cars anymore. Yeah. So, Jalen, man, you're doing a phenomenal job. We would love to have you on a podcast one day, Jalen. Yeah. Plastiline, man. I hope he can get it to manufacturing and get it up there.
He gonna get it where it need to be.
Yeah.
But like we always say, you gotta protect this man. Yeah. Protect this man, because protecting him is also protecting the environment. It's protecting us as creators, inventors, and just everyday citizens. So protect this man by all costs.
Man, I would say that, and he a young brother. He seemed very humble and he knowledgeable. Man, this guy, he's good. Yeah. He's good. I watched him. The first time he tried to do it, he set a big old fire or whatever. Mm-hmm. So he's really into this science. And I was talking to a science guy. They was like, it take all the mistakes or whatever to get it at or whatever. So
one try succeed.
Yeah,
it's gonna be multiple failed attempts before you succeed.
So on this last one, I don't know if you know it, but this is our 25th episode.
I do know.
Man, 25th.
Been running, D.
Give me some flashback moments that you have already.
Man, one of my major flashbacks is Byron Cole. He was one of the the second guest on the show, and bro, ever since then, it was it was an eye opener, as far as where we wanted to take this whole podcast. And the next highlight I feel like is the most important one for me is being partnered with you, my brother. You hear me? It's been partnered with you, and ever since that, like, this podcast has took a tremendous turn for the better. And people respect us. They respect our point of views.
Right.
And, we much respect it in certain lights. But I feel like a lot of that is due to who you affiliated with, too. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you, my brother.
Man, thank you so much, man. Thanks. When I got the call, given the opportunity to come on here, that's a highlight for me. But also, man, the guests that we had, it seemed like those 25 episodes we went from Job Corps to a senator to business owners to, man, it's like we didn't had a gumbo pot of people that come up here from Monster with the Fade, the Bones community. It just, once you start doing this and you start getting to seeing the point of view of other people, we had B Wolf on here, and he dealt with mental health. That was a memorable moment, having my brother come up here. So, man, but like, man, me and you running together. Yeah. Man, I think doing that, no matter how many guests we have, it still come down to me and Rick, baby. Right. So, man, we thank everybody for coming on here. This is our 25th episode, man. And if you guys like, subscribe, give us some ideas, we how we can improve, but we love bringing you guys interesting people every day.
Yes.
Yeah. And we're not mad at the Bounce Awards. They did the Bounce Awards last night. And I want to send a shout out to the Try. I love the Try. They got it done. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes in cities, they say, in cities all over the United States, when it's urban, we don't celebrate each other, we don't do this or whatever. Those guys got together, created an award show, and they gave out awards. And the people I seen that received the awards, they was actually happy. They seen Genuine, Sheikah Black got honored. She's a legend in hip hop awards. So you can't complain about how somebody else celebrates you if you don't celebrate yourself. Exactly. So shouts out to everybody from Lucky to 10 Ward Buck who put the Bounce Awards. We wasn't invited, but we not greasy over it. All right, we happy to see you guys celebrate yourself, because you got to celebrate yourself.
Of course you do.
And I think that that's the most important thing. I'll take a quick commercial break right quick from EraBody's Coffee.
Okay, welcome back. And as we promised you, we have another candidate who's here to represent herself and let y'all know about what her plans is to enhance and improve District C. Right next to us is, in between us, I should say, is the beautiful powerhouse, Kelsey Foster. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for
Appreciate
coming on.
it.
How you doing?
So before we jump into the interview, the actual interview, for our guests and fans who don't know you, can you give them a little bit about you? Who's
Sure.
Kelsey Foster?
So my name's Kelsey Foster. I'm running for New Orleans City Council District C. I've been doing public policy work in New Orleans for about 15 years. Most of that has centered around civic engagement, public finance, and economic development. I've been a neighborhood president in Algiers, and most recently I was the executive director of the Algiers Economic Development Foundation, where I had the chance to work with our small businesses in job creation for our local youth, and also to try to build some more affordable housing and deal with the blight that we have in Algiers.
Okay, so let's jump into it. I know you just mentioned, but I know you. I have a previous relationship with you before, you turned into the politics. Mm-hmm. Why transition from the Algiers Economic Development Foundation to jump right into politics? Why
it was a hard call because I loved that job so much. It was such a wonderful way to get to serve my community, and I felt like we were doing a lot of good. But with all the things and all the programs we had at Algiers Economic, I felt like so much of it got stuck at City Hall. In Algiers, our small businesses aren't dependent on tourism like they are in the rest of District C. Mm-hmm. And so when our folks started to struggle, or when our folks were having problems that would put them out of business, often that was stuff that was happening at City Hall. It was an issue with tax collection, or an $8,000 sewage and water board bill, or their permit that they couldn't get turned around. And I saw the real harm that was doing to our people and to kind of the opportunity to have economic justice in Algiers. And And the same with affordable housing. It was just so incredibly frustrating to me to see projects come in, consider building in Algiers, and then leave because they didn't want to play politics at City Hall. And I couldn't help but feel like this was a real missed opportunity for our people, and I think we can do better than that.
Yeah, well, I always knew you to have tough skin, right? But this is a whole different beast that we're dealing with here. Do you feel like you're physically, mentally, spiritually prepared for a transition like this?
It is a different world. Like I said, I've worked in policy for 15 years, but that's different than working in politics, right? That means that I sit down and try to write the laws, advise on the laws, not necessarily have to be the person in the suit that does the work. And it is different. I will say I'm very lucky. I have an incredibly supportive family, and our community has really come together to support me in a really beautiful way. I think if there's one thing I can say about this campaign from beginning to end, it's that I feel like I am making the people proud of me who I would really want to be proud of me. It is hard. Mm-hmm. You got to be ready to get into it because for some people, this is, not everybody does this for the same reason, I guess, is what I'll say. And if you're comfortable in this place and you don't feel that level of accountability to the community, then, it's a lot to give up. I think people don't like to give up power, right?
Yeah.
But we know that this is a crucial election for this city. For me, this feels like the first Landrieu election after Katrina, when things were really bad. Nagin goes on to be indicted a couple years later. The streetlights still don't come on at night. Your neighbor's still not back home. And we really kind of had to figure out as a people, like, what direction are we trying to go here? And, the years since then have been ups and downs along the way. But this election feels like that to me, where we've got to try to figure out how we keep our people here, because we lost more of our population than any other U.S. city in the last 4 years. And that breaks my heart, because what is New Orleans without New Orleanians,
I always ask for this for New Orleans East. Do you think Algiers and New Orleans should take a page out of Jefferson Parish book, where Jefferson Parish said, look, Harahan, you're going to be in the side of the government of Jefferson Parish, but you're going to be your own city. Do you think Algiers should try to say, well, look, let us govern ourselves and you get a piece of the tax dollar?
Yeah. I've been part of those conversations in Algiers and in the East before. I think so my background is in public finance. I started my career as a charter school reporter right after the storm, when those were like that was new. Mm-hmm. And we didn't really know how that was working. And I found that I loved covering the money side of it, because it's how we spend tax dollars and what that means for a kid in a school, in a seat in a classroom is really interesting to me. And I think from the public finance perspective, that's really hard. And we saw this up in Baton Rouge a couple of years ago, right, when we had this like kind of wealthy white community that extricated, St. George, right, took itself out of Baton Rouge. And now that's a wealthy community. And now they're finding out, oh, we've got to hire our own police force. We've got to pay for our sewage system has to work on its own, right? There's so many things that go into running a municipality that are expensive and hard, and you've got to have all these kind of people and infrastructure to make it work. So I think it's tough. What I think we could do, what I think we should do, is just get the East and Algiers an advocate who stands up for them. Because we do get forgotten about. I think New Orleans is a unique city in that our geography is so large, but Algiers is about 58,000 people. And I can't tell you how often I talk to people on the East Bank who are like, oh, they think it's just Algiers Point, maybe, or they've never been over there at all. Yeah. And it's the same for our kids on the West Bank. We consistently work with kids in our youth workforce program that haven't crossed the river. Yeah. They do their shopping on Manhattan or whatever it may be they stay on the West Bank. Yeah. And so I think that trying to help all of us understand our city a little better and advocate for the parts of it that are not getting an equitable share right now, and that is absolutely Algiers in the East.
Yes, that's a good question. Algiers, since I have been over there, I noticed that it depends on not big franchises but small local business. How do you draw small business, from tire shops to local grocery store to I'm looking at a business that's over there that I'm in negotiate with now. How do you get more of them to open up, come over there?
The beautiful thing about, and I think this is the opportunity that the East has right now too, and I would love to see something like Algiers Economic for the East. You know, I know we've got a really vocal group of New Orleans East Matters residents that are advocating right now, and that is, to me, what's made the difference for Algiers, is having a real organization to fight for you. But when you can tell the story of your, especially commercial real estate, you can start to attract our local people. And that's, quite frankly, the people I'm interested in.
Definitely. Right.
I'm not in the kind of economic development that's trying to bring in, Algiers doesn't have hardly any property that is zoned anything other than residential or commercial. So we don't have industrial. I'm not trying to bring in a Toyota car parts factory.
Yeah.
But our real estate, residential and commercial, kind of on average, this has probably changed a little bit, but is about 30% cheaper than East Bank, New Orleans. So you get about a 30% discount for what you're either buying or renting. And what that means for our local businesses is that, as in Algiers as a whole, 55% of them own their storefront property.
Yeah.
In old Algiers, so the bridge to the point to Federal City, that number is 75%.
Oh, that's amazing.
Unheard of.
That's amazing.
And what that means for us in times like COVID or Ida is that we didn't lose a single business. No one went out because there wasn't a landlord calling in rent, right? And they couldn't raise rent, because these are, in some of these cases, buildings that have been owned generationally by a family business.
Right.
And I did my entire master's degree on the impacts of gentrification on small business storefronts. And I think that Algiers and the East have this amazing potential to keep and incubate our local businesses because of affordability and accessibility. You can't do that on Magazine Street.
Yeah. So speaking about and affordability, right? We want to know too about what's the plans about as it pertains to affordable housing in the residents in District C. I'm gonna say Algiers because I'm in Algiers, and rent is just not pleasing to me and my family.
I think it's a nationwide problem, but in New Orleans as a whole, it's a big problem.
So how, what's your plans, once you're councilwoman of District C, what's your plans at addressing those things for residents?
Yeah, that's actually a really good transition, because the number one thing to bring in, less our local businesses, but definitely our national retailers, is population. They look at almost an algorithm that says, well, who's in this area and does it fit what I sell? And population is the number one, especially for grocery. That is the first thing that they want to see, because rich people still only eat so much food. It really doesn't matter how much you make. It matters how many people there are. So it's rooftop. Rooftop drives that kind of economic activity. In Algiers, we have an incredible amount of opportunity to both get rid of some of this historic blight that we've had for most of my life, and to build affordable housing that our city desperately needs. So we know we need about 40,000 units of housing across the entire spectrum, but particularly affordable units to meet the current demand. In Algiers, we have it's a little over 60 acres of multifamily property that are currently blighted, unused. So this is the old Higgins Gate, the old De Gaulle Manor, Oakmont now, Cypress Acres, which is now being renovated and looks great. But we just have so much space that is historically used for multifamily. The story I like to tell about that entire area from Shirley Drive to West Bend Parkway is that the majority of that was owned by one person.
What?
One person, one notorious slumlord in this city. And he let that all, Oakmont used to be a beautiful place to live. They had tennis courts. It was well kept, and it went downhill so fast. And now we're starting to see the same in properties like Park Fontaine. And I don't want to watch another multifamily property become unlivable under my watch. So what we can do is just work to bring in reputable developers. So I want to see people. I don't want another slumlord, right? We tried it. We let this guy buy it for pennies on the dollar, and he did nothing. So we've got to make sure we're attracting people, even if they are from out of state, that have a proven track record. I want to see what your properties look like in other places, and I want to see how you finance them and make sure you've got the money to really do the project. From there, we can make sure that we are being, I think smart as a city about zoning and making sure we are in kind of demanding a fair mix of affordability. So we don't build just like every apartment in here is going to be Section 8. We don't do that anymore. So it's always going to be a mix of kind of subsidized up to what we would call now market rate. But we've got to make sure that we're mixing that in a way that reflects the actual ability to pay of our people. And then holding these folks accountable when they start building.
I agree. I mean, well, we do know that most developers have the money, right? We know that they have the money. But how do we, even enforce a plan where we're going to do outside development that the local expert can actually manage or be involved in the whole process instead of it being, this teleport communication?
Yeah. Algiers has a really interesting track record of, I like to be creative in how we finance things because right now it is really hard to build, especially housing. Labor is expensive. Materials are expensive. Financing, money right now is expensive. It's expensive to just borrow money. And so for a lot of folks, they're kind of just holding off until the market gets a little, and it may be a minute, right? With the way things are going in our state with insurance and federally, it may be a minute until it is going to be a easy pencil, right? To get a project across the finish line financially. But there are ways that we can help encourage that at the local level. And I think we have to be really smart about accountability to our taxpayers and to our people when we're talking about tax, like using taxpayer money or tax incentives or credits to finance things. So at Federal City, we know that for 20 years now or more, that entire kind of area gets 1% of all the sales taxes from the Algiers Walmart. And so that's a lot of money.
That is.
It's a lot of money. And there's not really a ton of accountability about how it gets used. Yeah. So, the big headline for them lately, and I'm happy to see this, but they just cut the ribbon on a new senior living facility that I think is about
55 units or something.
Yeah, about 50 units, 75 units. And that's, love it. I'll take it. We need 40,000.
Yeah.
And y'all been getting 1% of sales taxes from Walmart for 20 years. Yeah. So 50 units over 20 years is not accountability for what you're getting. And so if we're going to think about doing something like that again, and there's been some talk in the community about a similar plan, kind of using that sales tax credit towards something like redevelopment of Brechtel Park. And I think we all want to see a Brechtel Park come back. But I want to make sure if we're talking about using public money that there is a really clear structure of what you're going to get in return for it.
I agree.
I've been looking into what do you think about, have you ever looked into shipping container homes? I have seen them built. Some of them are right, but I have seen them built at some great levels and put the New Orleans face on them with the New Orleans sign. You can't tell that it's built out of shipping.
This is actually a really hot topic in Algiers right now, which I didn't see coming, but someone had bought a piece of property. It's an empty lot in Real Timbers, and they want to put a shipping container house on it, and the neighbors are like up in arms, right? Because it's something new. Yeah. We haven't seen it before. What's it going to look like? I think for a lot of people, they think it's going to be a shipping container.
Yes, they don't know you put the once you put the face on there and is rated. Once you put the installation in there, the light bill drop tremendously. It holds its own air. And once you put the siding and everything on it, you can't tell what the shape is like. Yeah. And it's no different than in the French Quarter how they allow them to put the solar panels and everything on the house redevelop, but the front have to stay the same with that look that you normally get, that New Orleans traditional look. Yeah. So you're able to get the upgrades, but you're changing things, but the look stay the same.
Yep.
So I think if the person, whoever it is, can show people that it's not going to be two shipping containers stacked on top of each other.
Sure.
I think that, but
like you're not gonna go live down by the port,
Right.
So in those houses go for $50,000, much lesser than a house built from scratch, and the overhead is very low, and the sustainability is high. So with the property next to English Turn, Do you think we can get something like that?
So we'll tackle them separately. English Turn's a whole hot, that's another hot button in Algiers right now. But I think that like the overarching issue here, whether it's solar panels in the quarter or it's shipping container homes, is that the moving at the speed of government is so slow. And so while we as a people are finding all these creative ways to be more energy efficient, to be more financially efficient in building these houses, government still there's zero language about what a shipping container house is. So there's no, standards. There's nothing like this. We used to run into this with our small businesses in Algiers all the time too, where if you don't fit in like one box that they have for what kind of business we had a couple in the Coast Guard who wanted to open a drive-through coffee stand. So that's on de Gaulle, no inside seating, but you can only get a drive-through if you're fast food. Because in New Orleans, we don't have such a thing as drive-through, just drive-through coffee.
Right. Yeah.
And so we couldn't get and they left and they went to Tarrytown because Jefferson Parish would be flexible, And so I think we've got to be smarter and more, move a little bit more nimbly so that we can give developers some guidance on like, hey, here's what you can do and here's what you can't do. And that's going to give neighbors the same kind of predictability about like, okay, well, now I know I can look here and like, it's going to be something that I can count on to look like a house in real timbers. It's not going to look like two shipping containers stacked together. Right. And, and I'm a big believer in when you use the city's regulations fairly and you make them clear, then it's better for the developer and it's better for the resident. I think right now what we notoriously have, and this is where we'll get into English Turn, is like kind of government by politics, right? Like you sort of, if you want to do a project in New Orleans, you want to open a business in New Orleans, you kind of got to go to City Hall and play some politics. Yeah. And that, especially when we're trying to attract these kind of like high quality, affordable housing developers from out of state, is a huge turnoff. Because you can go to Houston and you don't have to do that.
Right.
You can go to Jefferson Parish and you don't have to do that. And so how do I tell somebody it's worth it to fight the fight here? And English Turn is a really good example of that. So just to cover like the background on it, this is kind of the unused land across the way from English Turn.
And how many acres is that?
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head, but it's a large property.
And well, this for me, before you get an answer, it was low income housing want to be built, right?
So originally it was proposed as luxury apartments. And then we started adding in, right, the affordability. And this is where, so I guess let me walk you through from the beginning. A woman bought the land, right? Land's been for sale for years. Neighbors always knew somebody could buy it and they could build on it. And it is zoned to build apartments. So she can build it. That's her God-given American right? We can't, and you can't change that after the fact. Yeah. But what the council did instead was they put something called an interim zoning district over it that said no apartments. And by that time, she had applied for low-income tax credits, which means the project would have had affordability built into it. There would have been some properties in there, probably about, usually what the normal mix is about 10 to 15%. So not the whole project, but 10 to 15, probably about, 20 to 30 units would have been affordable. And when we changed the zoning on her, and that effectively kills this project. That triggered an investigation from, this was still under the Biden administration, the HUD, right, wrote a letter and said, this is a violation of the Fair Housing Act. You can't discriminate against low-income residents. And so now the city of New Orleans is ineligible for any discretionary HUD funding. We can't even apply for it. Cost us $181 million last year.
So, wait.
Hold on.
Wait, who's responsible for that?
Yeah.
Who?
And I would say this. Hold on, Rick.
I want to know who the person who single-handedly made that decision.
We have to be fair too. Let's say you're a New Orleans resident. You grew up. You make it to English Turn. You make it. Every house in English Turn is $500,000 or more. Right across the street is just someone is paying $700 rent, and that's what you grow up in environments like that. So you don't think it's fair to them to say, I gotta pay top-notch property tax and security. I can stand this environment, but you want to build. I worked to get to where I'm at, and now you just want to build and give them all the luxuries, all the sites, and everything that we've been. So you don't think it's a come to fair now?
So before
if
you
do luxury,
before you answer, can I give a little input back just to
but
you?
if you say luxury apartments, I don't mind because you're coming Saints players, Pelicans players,
Right.
people that can afford to live
Right.
and enjoy. But if you go, I'm paying in a $700,000 house, I'm paying property tax on a $700,000 house. You're getting the same amenities of me, and you only paying $500 rent on a HUD program.
Right, but it's like she said, it's only 15% that went into it, right? So it's not many units, but also if they felt like their community was at danger or at risk of something, as severe as they see it, then they could have put their money together and bought the property, and did what they wanted to do with the property. But I feel like 20 units wouldn't affect them at a luxury apartment.
When you're dealing with Elmwood, is a business park. It's built for that environment. You're gonna see here trucks, warehouses.
Yeah.
It's built for that. What I'm saying is, in a housing mall, once English Turn is built, the things around there should be in that same manner. Don't downgrade me. Don't invite me to the city and say, "Come on, we got somewhere where you could be at, Mr. Rich Man." And I go there, and then you say, "You right across the street from." I think that's just unfair. But rich people can't say that.
But how did it
said
penalize us? Now, tell us how were we actually penalized? And now that transpired, we don't have access to what?
We cannot apply for any discretionary HUD funds until this is resolved. And with the Trump administration, we don't know when that could be, right? So this is going to cost us hundreds of millions of dollars in money. Until the federal government can prove we're not going to use this money to discriminate against low-income people, we can't have it. And so this means we know the city had applied for one grant that they actually had to rescind it. They had to say, sorry, we can't, we got to take it back. And that grant alone would have helped make upgrades. So we now have something called the Healthy Homes Ordinance. It says your rental units must be kept to a minimum standard. That would help local mom and pop landlords make those improvements to their rentals. So if you got to put on a new coat of paint or whatever it may be, it would have gap financed some projects like, Christopher Park Homes that we've been trying to redevelop for years and years. And so this has a lot of ripple effects that are hurting a lot of people. And I also just don't, I grew up in and out of a lot of different kinds of rental apartments when I was a kid, and I don't inherently think that just because you are on, you are getting some sort of government subsidy for your housing that you're a bad neighbor, right?
I want our viewers to know that from a person that come from the Desire Housing Project and Rick come from the St. Bernard, that's not the angle of my side of the thing. But I do realize that we talked about this yesterday. When I first rented I was looking in the newspaper. This how long ago it was, and looking for a rental property. It was $500 for a 2-bedroom. They had $800 property. They had $900 property. They had $1,100. It was in the newspaper at the time. That $1,100 property was, I can assure you, and we only had a 2-bedroom, was better than the $500 one. It was if you look at the safety standards, it probably was in a safer or whatever. The higher you go up, that's what you're paying for or whatever. So for people that stay on St. Charles, I'm paying for this environment that I'm staying in. So I want to keep the standard that I'm at. So if I'm an investor, when I get ready to sell, you know how hard it is to sell. You trying to sell somebody a $900,000 property next to is registered in the system as a HUD product. I brought this property looking to get $400,000 made out of it in 2 years, but by you putting a HUD thing right there, you messed up my whole thing. And when I came here in this luxury environment, thinking the whole environment was gonna be like that, but now you put me here, you got me to come here, and across the street you put a HUD environment. I just think that Christopher Home they tore it down, and that's the place that low income houses, not directly across from Eastover, English Turn.
Yeah, but like Ms. Foster was saying, bro, it was only 10 to 15%.
Is on record? Is it on record?
That's how you finance a LIHTC
Yeah,
project.
but that's what I'm saying. So it's on record. So
it wouldn't make sense for them to put any more because it would cost. That's just costing them more money,
Yeah.
right? If they're not going to put, surprise, it's 50% affordable because now that's less rent that they want as many market rate units in there as they can get, or they're not going to make enough money. So they're not going to like surprise it's more. You don't get any more tax credit for any more. That's it. It's 10 to 15%. And I'll also say, to be qualified now, it's the standard to be on, some sort of housing assistance is usually about 50% average median income or below. Average median income, half of that here is about 30, I want to say it's like $37,000. So that's an entry level fireman. That's a teacher's assistant.
Yeah.
Like that's actually most of our
New
people.
Orleans. Most of New
That's
Orleans.
who we are.
Yeah.
It's not, I think that it's really easy to get, because we have this like horrible history in this city of the kind of housing we have built for people, especially before Katrina, right? Like what that was and how we managed it was different than today. And, my mom's a retired teacher and she lives in an apartment complex and it's just full of like divorced dads and retired teachers. Like it's not I think it's just not like it used to be in the 80s and 90s. It is a different kind of world. And I think we've got to like help people. If we help people have these conversations instead of like, because there was never a single meeting with this developer. It just got shut down and this all just happened.
Well, I would say that in Jefferson Parish, I know a lot of places that look like apartment complexes, but they actually condos. Why we don't go in that direction? But before you answer that, we're going to take a quick commercial break. This commercial is sponsored by EraBody's Coffee. Welcome back. We were talking about they have some acreage. I know it's over 20 acres because I've seen it before. It's over 20-something acres of development in front of English Turn, one of the so-called premier properties that's in New Orleans. New Orleans, do we have condos?
We do. And any, multifamily property, if the kind of tenants want to get together and try to buy their units, that's, condoization is something that lots of places have done. 1201 Canal downtown is one. Actually, Cypress Acres, some of those units are now condos. I think that it's a great way to help people build equity, right? Because now you own it.
You own it.
That's the plus. The downside is that now you are like really married to your neighbors financially, right? Like how go your neighbors goes you. And so y'all got to have to agree on how you're going to invest in the property kind of collectively. And that can be really messy. It can be good, but it can be messy. I think that if we're going to talk about ownership models though, I will throw out land banks, which I think are an interesting opportunity. And I think that this covers a lot of stuff we've talked about. The Finance New Orleans just started a new program where you can get really, really great loans if you are building energy efficient properties specifically. So like our container houses we were talking about would be a great fit for this like incredibly subsidized loan. So those are the kind of creative things that I like in economic development, especially around housing, that I think we could start to think about other ways to help people get into a unit affordably, especially on like a home, some level of like ownership model where you're building that equity.
And I always like that. We were talking about it on yesterday that I think New Orleans should do it mandatory. When you building these big apartment complexes, at least 4 times a year, have home ownership classes because I don't know no one that say I want to stay in an apartment for the rest of my life or whatever, especially when our young people are starting out. That's their start. If you can help guide them before they wreck their credit, do something to ownership, then it'll spike in the whole city because ownership is, once you get to that level, you take pride in a whole different manner.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brung that up about youth because that's the transition that we want to transition into. As it pertains to you being a council person, we know how the city government has overlooked our young voices, our youngest residents. What's your plan of making sure that our young people, because this is a passion of mine, that they have a place here in New Orleans where they can find good jobs, where we can pretty much focus on that financial aspect of their lives before they go down the drain? because we see in New Orleans, not only the senior citizens are overlooked, the youth are definitely overlooked, and they're the future of this city.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about this a lot, especially when we talk about the population loss we've had, because when I was...
not to cut you off, it's 20,000, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of
we
people.
We lead the nation in people walking away, throwing their hands up.
Yep. And that's affordability. It's because of the lack of accountability and basic services. Like, you're paying money to live here and your trash doesn't get picked up on time. You know, like, we have this cost of living that is so high for a quality of life that is so low right now. And I think we've got to like rebalance that a little bit, right? Give people a better quality of life, and we cannot afford to live like this. And part of that, is certainly the insurance crisis, which unfortunately is not something that a council person has a lot of control over. Although I hope we can come up with some creative programs for things like fortified roofs through the Housing Trust Fund. But to talk specifically about our youth, because I also get pretty passionate about this, one of the things I'm most proud of from my time at Algiers Economic was a program called ACE, the Algiers Career and Educational Development Program, where we took high school juniors and seniors who either lived in Algiers, went to school in Algiers, because we know kids come in from all over now, who were kind of self-identified as, I don't know what I'm gonna do next. And I think that in good and bad ways, the charter school system really pushes four-year college, four-year university. And I think that, I'm the first generation in my family to go to college after high school, and I'm glad I got to go, but it's expensive. And if you aren't quite sure what you're trying to do yet, it's a commitment. And so, we wanted to expose kids to jobs that maybe they didn't know exist, especially on the West Bank, that pay a living wage for a non-university track kind of path. And so, our kids came to us one Saturday a month for 5 months. In the mornings, we would focus on kind of the soft skills, like how to write your resume, practice like dressing and interviewing for a job. We did a lot of financial literacy. And my favorite part of this is that they received a scholarship for every time they attend. So they get a $100 check. And then it is fully up to, so like really practicing that financial literacy of what you do with that is between you and God. Like, that's not on me, but use it towards, we hope that we're giving you the skills to do right by it, right? So save half, spend half. Whatever it is, make a plan and stick to it. Make a budget and stick to it. And I think that level of like accountability really resonates with young people who aren't given a lot of chances to make their own decisions. In the afternoons, though, we would take them out on field trips to different employers around the city. So we would we took them out on a tugboat, talked about jobs on the river, which pay incredible money. We would visit different, a chemical engineering firm on the West Bank down in like St. Charles Parish. We talked about engineering jobs with the Levee Authority, visited, do y'all know the largest flood protection pumping station in the world is in Plaquemines Parish?
Did not know that.
Who knew? The West Closure Complex, and built after Katrina. We take the kids out there. We talk about jobs, in civil engineering, and every time it was like, wow, I had no idea that this was something. I think we do a really good job of telling kids that you can be anything you want to be,
but not showing them.
But not like what is that?
Yeah.
Like, what be anything, but what is anything, and how do you get it? My mom was a teacher and my dad was a mechanic, and those were the two jobs I knew about when I was growing up. So it was a lot of fun to get to kind of have these complicated conversations with these youth, and we would kind of survey at the big, pre-test, post-test on like where you at with everything. And at the beginning of the program, at least half of our kids said that their plan and their hope was to leave this city as fast as they could. Mm-hmm. The second they graduate, the only way that they could envision success for themselves was leaving. And for most of them, it was going to Houston, Dallas, like Texas was big, right? And for others, we did have some kids who were applying to college and planning to go, LSU or elsewhere. But really the common thread was getting out of here. And that is so heartbreaking to me, and not coming back either. Right. And so by kind of taking them around and showing them all this potential that exists right here, and including like all of these employers are hiring now. And we usually had at least one or two kids who would go back and get a job after graduation if they were a senior. We could cut the number of kids by the graduation of the program in half of students who said that they wanted to leave the city. And so I think that a lot of it really is just helping our people see a future here, know that there is opportunity and that opportunity is for them specifically.
So, for the organizations, right, who's dealing with the young people, outside of the school system, because we know even with the residents leaving, the numbers far as kids being attending school are dropping also. Mm-hmm. And all those numbers are kind of being altercated and played with. But the community people, run into a large number of young people who's in the community, not focused on education. How do we support the organizations that have the reach?
Yeah.
Once you're a council member, how do we really support the organizations that has the reach to get to those young people?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think government can have really great intentions sometimes, right? Like I am not such a pessimist. I really think that everybody in City Hall has the best interest of this city in their heart, even if I see it differently, but what government's really bad at, especially here, more so than I think other cities, is having the trust of the people. Mm-hmm. If you've got a problem, it is unlikely that the first person you call is going to be at City Hall, right? Like you're going to call somebody at your church, you're going to call somebody at an organization that, you're at wherever you go after school, because that's the people that have the actual reach into the community and who have the trust of the community. Yeah. And so I think for me, making sure that there are good grant opportunities, things like the Cultural and Heritage Fund that we can connect our people to support the work that's already happening. It drives me nuts when government tries to reinvent the wheel, right? If it's happening out there, and we see this a lot in criminal justice. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of really great, reentry programs for 72 plus. Like, let's lean on people that already have connections with this community. We do not need to reinvent it. We don't need to do it again. Support the people who are doing it and who have the trust.
Yeah. I would say this, and this is the final question for this segment. As a business owner, New Orleans is known as a playground where we have a library convention, a nursing convention, we have Bayou Classic, we have Mardi Gras every year, the Super Bowl, we have the most Super Bowls than any other city. And when those events come down here, the locals, it don't enhance our income at all. As business owners, you don't know how hard I fought to try to get a piece of the janitorial contract for the Super Bowls down here. It's so much red tape, and it's like, if they got all this food on the table in my city, and I'm not getting none of it, why should I vote? Yeah. Why should I care about this trash on the ground? Because I ain't benefit from it anyway. Yeah. So, as a council person, how can you ensure Algiers and the people that you represent, even the people of New Orleans, that small business should be in the game? And I like the reason why Atlanta is always at the forefront, especially when it comes to African Americans. They built the largest airport, I think, in the world. The mayor of Atlanta looked at the airport and said, I might not have an African American or a minority that have the skill set right now to build this airport, but they could pour concrete and asphalt. So a lot of these guys, they went from $100,000 guys to $500,000 guys, yep. $700,000. She to help bump income. Yeah. That's why they saying I'm voting for you. And if you watching a mayor election, you see so many big time celebrity because she helped bump their income. Yeah. It's not like that in here. I might know you, but you ain't helped me get no contract or nothing like that. They're like all the events came and went, and I know you. And then they say vote for me, and I'm looking at you like, you gotta come what I get, and that's the difference between us. So how can you help the small dog in the fight with all this business around? New Orleans have $1 billion, and I just want to say this: $1 billion budget. $1 billion. That's how much the budget for New Orleans is. Now, why we not getting? We not in on it.
Absolutely. So the mayor just announced our proposed budget for 2026, and it's bleak. And a part of that is because we continue to think we're going to make money off of these events. So we projected that we were going to make $15 million as a city off the Super Bowl last year. We made $8 million. So like half, right? We spent $60 million in infrastructure locally, not from the state, locally, to try to prepare for it. So that means we net lost a lot of money on this event, right? And as the Algiers Economic Development Foundation director, my main membership, right? Kind of the heart of my work were small, local, Black-owned businesses, family-owned businesses, generational-owned businesses. We worked every year that I was at Algiers Economic. We hosted a session called Doing Business with the Government, where we would just bring in laptops and get you registered with the federal bid system. We'd help get you online with RTA, because you got to register for like so many different, that's not even getting your DBE status, right? Like there are so many different hoops you have to jump through. And so we tried to preach the long game, because by the time the Super Bowl comes and that bid opens, it's too late for you to try to go out and get your DBE now. You needed to have had it. Yeah. And so we tried to get people prepped, knowing that this was coming. And even with all that work, we had 4 businesses in all of Algiers who got a Super Bowl contract that were eligible to bid a Super Bowl project. That's not who got a Super Bowl project.
They made it hard.
That's who,
they gave you a Yellow Pages book full of things that you had to meet the requirements. And to small business, a lot of them, they go elsewhere. Because elsewhere is where I can drive. And we had a person that's running on Hano. She was running. She talked about her experience there. Leilani going to what that was to open up one of her gyms in Covington. She said she called off all her stuff because she thought it was going to be a long process. Got there, one building, one day, like that. In New Orleans, I truly believe copy and paste. When I see what the things that New Orleans do, we have Blight, but Chalmette don't. And you look at St. Bernard, we are right there. I always ask, what council person you need me to drive? I'll pick you up and drive you over there, and we could meet with their people and talk. What policies do y'all have in place that we cannot put in place to make sure, even if it's not a house on a lot, the grass is cut? How do we clean up, and it's the final question, how do we make sure we going through it and we get, if it's all right, if y'all family going through something, there's no house there, but this lot will be cleaned up, or y'all will lose it. How do we go through cleaning that up?
I think that New Orleans exceptionalism is real. Like, we are exceptional. And also, what doesn't need to be exceptional is just our government administration, right? Like, if other governments around the world are doing this every day, they're picking up trash on time every week, they are issuing business permits every day, why can't we do that? And why are we still, so, our business permitting system is 15 years old. It was built after Katrina, just for the city of New Orleans. We could just go use the same system as everybody else that we know works. And I think that we have a lot of learning to do in that realm, and that is an administrative issue that I'm hoping a new mayor is going to want to tackle. It is so unglamorous, it is so unsexy, and it is the number one thing standing between us and a functional government. And it's just nobody wants to tackle it, because why, when you could go cut a ribbon and, golden shovel something? And that's crazy. Look, we like that too. I'm not above it. But I do think that we need to have the complicated conversations about, like, what form are you filling out that isn't getting, and who isn't reading it, right? Like, what is broken exactly, so that we can get this moving a little bit faster. Because it is really frustrating to go, I live in Algiers and I go to Gretna next door and the streets are nicer. And part of that is that they've got a different kind of tax base. Part of it's that they've got a smaller scale. But at the end of the day, there are cities around this entire world that run effectively and efficiently, and we can be one of them. We absolutely can do better.
Yeah. All right. So, since we talking about breaking, parts of the world and parts of responsibilities, we also discovered that Section C, and I don't know what other district has gotten more responsibility. Could you enlighten us on that before we actually jump into the next segment?
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm glad you brought this up. District C has been redistricted, as have parts of District D, A, and B. So if you live basically anywhere but the East, your boundaries have changed. This is most notable in District C, though, where our boundary now is going to go all the way to Broad between the Greenway and Esplanade. So this is Tremé, the 6th Ward, coming up here into Mid-City, and actually it goes as far north as, I believe, Dupre on a couple blocks. So we actually go above Broad for a couple blocks. This also impacts a little bit of the South 7th Ward, just north of St. Claude. So please check the city's maps. No one was informed of this. Our campaign only found out about it about 3 weeks ago.
You would think they would do it after the election and let the new council just.
The maps were changed in 2022 to become effective on January 1st, 2026. So we do this every time there's a census.
Yeah.
But even the current city council wasn't, like, they are on record saying that you would still vote for your current district, and then on January 1st, that's when it happens. Right. There's nothing on the city's website. The language isn't anywhere. We only found out because a resident who lives right around where we are right now called and said, I'm looking at my sample ballot and you're on it. And that's when we found out. We printed special postcards to let everybody in this new precinct know, and went door to door and handed them out and talked to people.
Wow.
And we met, in all of that weeks of canvassing, we met one person who had known in advance that he was in a different district.
So do you think that's by design or that's just a hiccup?
You know, WDSU and Verite News have both covered this, and in every story, the, registrar of voters, the city council, everybody kind of points the finger at the other person, right? Like, well, it was your job. I think that there should, as a public official, you should don't ever answer my question by saying that was someone else's job. Mm-hmm. It is inherently your job. I don't care if it is someone else's job. It's your job.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of people just really dropped a ball and failed. And I really hope that we can do better by people, because voting is such a core part of who we are as people, and to show up at the ballot box and feel tricked, I think, is not helping us move in the right direction of where we need to be as a democracy in a city.
Well, thank you for your input.
Man,
thank y'all for having me.
We have this last segment that we like to go through with all our guests called Do You Remember? And do you remember, we take you down memory lane, whether it's TV shows, events, traditional New Orleans things, just to see what you think about it.
Okay.
All right. You in?
I'm in. Let's see. Let's test my memory this morning.
All right. This one here, do you remember, and give us your finest memory of Jazzland?
Oh, man. I actually, so I moved here after college in 2010 when Jazzland was no longer already. So I have no memory of Jazzland.
That sucks for you.
I know. I heard it was wild.
Yeah, it was wild.
You was at, you remember Jazzland?
Man, I remember sneaking through with somebody else's passes. Yeah, we were so much in poverty during that time, but it was so fun. Once you enter the gates, it's like a whole different world. You wasn't in New Orleans no more. Yeah, you was actually in a dream world,
Well, I snuck in there also, and I think, see, it's different for kids now. We got dropped off, at opening time. And literally, they came back, got us at close time.
Yeah, the whole day.
If we had $8, we made $8 worth for the whole day.
Of course you did.
So it was so good, but they said they're redeveloping it and getting to something else. We looking forward to seeing what it's supposed to be. I think it's business, some condos, some businesses. I
don't know. Is it still Bayou Phoenix?
Yes, Bayou Phoenix was the winning bidder on that project. So I believe they have proposed for an Amazon fulfillment center kind of thing, like shipping logistics hub, which are usually a pretty good employer for local people. As well as some housing, and I think there had been a community garden proposed at one point. I think maybe that math moves around a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, well, we know how that goes.
Yeah. I mean, good example though of a project that's hard to finance.
Since you moved here in 2010, what was your experience like your first time? Do you remember your first time going on Bourbon Street?
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. I was very young when I moved here, so Bourbon was seemed like a very exciting place. And I actually worked service industry in the quarter, so I was there. I was a reporter, covering schools, kind of in the evening or in the day, and at night I worked at NOLA, was Emerald's restaurant in the quarter. It's not there anymore. By night, and I took the ferry over from Algiers when it was still free. And it still went till midnight, so I could take it home from work when I got off my shift. But often I would go out with my coworkers. We'd go to Bourbon afterwards. We had a couple places that were like our service industry spots. And this was also maybe this is my favorite part of this memory. That was right around the time when it was right after the oil spill and everybody in service industry was getting their BP settlement checks.
Yeah,
you remember that? That was wild times.
Yeah, I do.
So all of a sudden, like, you're giving every fry cook and busboy and like line cook like $3,000.
Yeah.
And like, what are we doing tonight?
Yeah,
What restaurant
some
you
people
was
more
at?
than that.
They got 3,000. Everybody in our
About
restaurant
10,
got
15.
10, 15. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 It just depended on like who your adjuster was, you know,
Yeah.
because some people,
Well-
management were get these crazy checks.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was so interesting to see like how people did spend it though. You know, like one guy left the restaurant, went to Delgado, got a degree, moved on. One guy bought a car, made like 4 payments. It got repossessed.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know.
Some wild stuff.
Yeah. I kind of waited. They started giving out the BP, and I waited to the 4th day because I wanted all my coworkers to go first. And I examined what they put on there first because they come back to
smart,
work. Yeah,
smart.
to get a higher number. You know,
Smart. But I will say, I think the one thing everybody did with that check was take all their coworkers out for drinks on bourbon afterwards.
Yeah,
So-
I wish I was a part of that.
You
know?
wasn't. Well,
No, man, and I was impacted by it, but it just wasn't my luck. I wish.
So, Rick, when you first went on bourbon, tell me what it was like your first time ever. Do you remember?
I do remember my first time, man, and it was wild. I think I went around 10, 11 years old, just walking out, with my boys and stuff like that. But the most shocking thing to me was the balcony girls.
Yeah.
And when you first get that first bead, throw it around you and you put it around your neck, and it's like, oh, all right, this is what we do out here, right? But ever since then, it kind of opened my eyes up to how fast the city moves also, and what you shouldn't be exposed to at a younger age. However, it was good for the moment, but now that I look back, I feel like it expedited me in a way that I shouldn't have been going. So I feel like it should be more boundaries and stipulations to Bourbon Street as to what goes on and what exposure.
Well, they do
takes
have. I
place.
think they have a time for kids. They have a time.
Yeah, well, kids still be out there around 12, 10 at night.
It's wild to see a tourist with like a stroller,
Yeah,
like 9 o'clock and they're pushing a baby down Bourbon. Like, what did you see in the movies that you thought that this was the place to bring your baby?
Yeah, like this is not the place for kids.
And I was a worker in a French Quarter for a long time because I was a tapper. I was a tapper.
What?
Oh yes,
I love that.
You still do it today?
I ain't as good as I used to be, but I was always about the dollar. Yes, and you could do pretty good out there on tapping. Boy, them tourists. If y'all youngsters out there don't have no money, you better learn how to tap dance. Boy, them tourists. I used to be working for. So that was the good old days. And my last, do you remember your first daiquiri in New Orleans?
Oh man, it's got to be in the corridor. It had to have been in the corridor, I'm sure, because if not, maybe a drive-through. I would say I definitely remember my first drive-through daiquiri and thinking like, this is wild. I can't believe you can get one of these in the car.
What drive-through though?
In the
what
car.
drive-thru?
We
one?
always go to one. I don't even know the name of it. It's still there though. There's one on Veterans in Kenner. It's not a chain. It's just like a little one that we go to. It's like kind of there by I guess that's a Lowe's over there.
Okay.
I know you're talking about that.
Yeah, we go to that one. That's when we pick people up at the airport. Or we got, I'm a West Banker, so we go down to Manhattan. There's a daiquiri
definitely.
place on Manhattan
Yep,
too.
they sure do. They sure. I know about that one. And the one on Shelf. I mean, what that is.
DeGaulle got a good one on there.
DeGaulle?
Yeah, but no
DeGaulle.
drive-through.
Yeah.
No drive-through because it's in
It
Orleans
used to be
Parish.
It used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be. But that's pretty
You got to
cool.
go in there now.
Yeah.
So.
And I have
which
a
doesn't feel the same.
Can I do a bonus one?
Go ahead.
What TV show that had a character by the old guy? He was an old guy by the name of Mr. Wilson. It was him and the duo. It was a younger kid and Mr. Wilson.
Like, what's the name of the show?
What's the name of the movie?
The movie. Okay, Mr. Wilson.
I think I know this
Mr.
one.
Wilson.
Yeah, I can. It's like a little blonde kid, right?
Yeah.
What is his name?
I think I knew this one.
Oh, you're gonna have to answer it for me. I can like see he's like an annoying little neighbor kid.
Yeah,
right? That's
yeah.
Dennis to Menace.
Yes. Oh, man, I would have never gotten there. Though. I'm
you
glad
seen
you
it.
answered for
You
me because
seen
I
it,
would have
though,
never
huh?
got. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Everybody, I think everybody. That was like the most impactful movie for me growing up. Just to see a kid with so much intelligence, it was like crazy.
Between him and Macaulay Culkin, Home Alone.
Yes.
Yeah. Or whatever. Yeah.
Was Macaulay Culkin in? He wasn't Dennis the Menace?
No,
it was a different kid.
Yeah. So would you agree to come back to the show and be a friend of this show?
Oh, I will come back anytime. This was great.
So when you get in the office, don't
Let's
act
go.
like you don't know us.
Right.
Let's go. I'll be here anytime.
Once again, everybody, man, we thank you guys. It's been a great episode, and I'm the Honorable Darren D. Purnell, the street speaker himself. We do have a book, Business Minutes, on Amazon. Go run and get it and support our coffee brand. Everybody's Coffee. Support it. Like this, Rick.
Well, you heard the man. Businessmen is out on Amazon right now. And before we leave, we want to make sure that all of our listeners and followers, family, friends know where to find Miss Kelsey at.
You can find me on leadwithkelsey.com. That is my website. You can learn more about me, my background, my policy experience. And you can also find me out in District C pretty much every single day. I'm headed to Fried Chicken Fest after this, so you can come say hey if you're headed out today. And I will be guest bartending at Vaughn's in the Bywater on Monday and guest bartending at Molly's on the Market on Decatur on Thursday. So come get a drink.
Well,
25 episodes.
I didn't know this was going to be a landmark.
So again, you can find us everywhere on EraBody's podcast. That's EraBody's podcast on all social media platforms. And again, I'm your boy Ricky, and we out. Peace.
That was fun. Thank you guys.
Thank you.